I'm going
How long do you think
live
you'll be able to do
stream,
that
so
before you kind
follow
of
along.
get absorbed
Because
by the
not all of you can
org?
see my projector. Make sure you the channel.
I think that depends on how long we can kind of keep the fun mood going that we have.
It's very stressful. It really got to me. I didn't want to work on the project anymore because I wanted to just write prototypes or new games and stuff. That's the stuff I actually get happy from doing. And I felt like still like I needed to be responsible for it because I was still like the main owner of the company, and it was me who developed the game, and people were like looking up to me. And for me, it was very important to make sure that it was like a clean break. Like it wasn't like
So the lecture on copyright law
some investor in trying to grow
says we're gonna call it
big
block
exit.
game.
It was more about getting it quick and easy and just get it done with.
So why Microsoft?
They were the fastest and they made the most realistic offer.
All right, listen
You had a
up.
prior work.
Listen up.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
talking.
Because we had the Xbox version going.
So going back to this idea of you as a symbol,
Listen up.
does this mean you're going to disassociate with Notch? I know that's a very popular online
So
personality.
this is our shooting game. Right?
Separate
You hit
yourself
play.
from that?
Like
This is
that's
what
like
the
an
map
identity
looks like
that I
right
use
now.
myself.
The
That's
first
the
thing we're
difference
going to do, we're
between
going to jump right
me,
into
friends
it, is
and,
everybody is in the front of
the public
Unreal.
version,
We're going
like
to add a
online
new
or
blueprint
whatever.
for our block.
So I don't think
Lower
that's gonna
left,
be
that green button,
the
hit
difference. And
add
it seems
new.
like
Choose
because
blueprint
when I first
class.
when we announced this,
Choose
and
actor.
when we were gonna announce it, it was like I was completely
And
certain
we
it was gonna have to like shut down
name
my
this.
Twitter.
We're going to name it
because I thought people
BP
would be so upset.
underscore block.
So I was kind of a little bit ready to give up on that.
BP
personality,
stands
but
for
it turns out
blueprint.
people weren't that bad about it, or maybe it just
You can name things whatever you want, but
of having,
what
like,
you'll
actual
find is
soul
that
made it
you
easier to deal
become
with.
more of a
So I
professional
didn't have to do
developer.
that break.
And you
so
got
these days, the
hundreds
commenters
of
that
thousands
do
of things in
troll
your
you,
world. You're going to be happy
it
that
seems like you hit back at
these
them
naming
now.
events.
Sometimes. Usually I use the
Okay.
mute button, which is
So,
really efficient.
BP underscore block. Again, I'll repeat that instruction one
But
last
sometimes I will
time.
reply
What we
because
just
it
did is
doesn't
we
really
clicked
get to
green
me as
add new
bad as it
button.
used to.
We chose blueprint class. We chose
We're here at
actor.
Rubber Brain. I know it's a temporary office.
And in our
you're
content
moving in a
browser,
month,
we
but
named it.
What are you and Jacob
underscore
doing
block.
here?
Okay.
Honestly,
This is
playing
your
games
block.
mostly. Rubber Brain is
We're
more
gonna
to
make
have
this
some
one
place to go
blueprint
to.
object
Have like a day-to-day
behave
kind of office
like
to
all
go
the
to
blocks
and feel
that
like
we
have some
want
kind of
to
context for your
behave. So
day-to-day life. I
we'll
have been
make it
working
so that
on
we can
like
change it to
prototypes
be
and trying to
a
learn new
grass
languages,
block to a dirt
but it's
block,
not really
a wood
the
block
intent
to
that
a
I'm gonna
block
finish a
of
game.
water.
Maybe I will at some point.
We're
and then
only
it's good to have like
doing
content
one
set up
fluid
for it.
object once.
And it's
So once
fun
you've
to have
done
like
that,
the idea when you're working
double
on stuff like
click
it's
to
supposed to
open
become
the
something,
blueprint block
but not feel like the pressure like it
and
has
get
to.
to your new window.
So you could possibly
for
never
the
release the
blueprint.
game again.
Yeah, and I would be fine with that. It was a long time when I was freaking out, like how do I follow up on Minecraft? It was really
Oh, is
hard
there
to
audio
deal
in
with,
the background?
like, because it's
Yes. All right. That's better. Is that better? Okay. So, guys, if you're in the front of Unreal, you shouldn't be. So you want to hit escape on the playing, and you want to make the blueprint block and open it up. So it's add new, green add new button, blueprint, class, actor, and then name it block or BP block. All right, once you've double clicked it and you're in your editor here, what I want you to do is let's add what the block looks like. Let's add a cube. So to do that, it's going to be a static mesh, right? In the upper left, add component, click add component, and then choose static mesh. Okay, and nothing's going to show up yet. It's in the upper left, add component. Click that and choose static mesh. It doesn't look like anything because we haven't set what the static mesh looks like. So on the right here in details, where it says static mesh, there's a drop down that says none. You want to click that and find the one called cube. For me, it's right at the top called 1m underscore cube. And there I have a cube. So you're adding a static mesh from the Components tab, and then you're changing that static meshes in the Detail panel. You're making it a cube. You're setting the static mesh property to a cube. 1m underscore cube is what it's called. And then just for fun, I'm going to change the material right now to a dirt-looking material. There's a really great material that looks like dirt. It's called rust. Look up rust, and then now I've got this block of dirt. Properties is your details panel on the right. So if someone's having trouble, go ahead and take a second to help your neighbor out, please. Now once we've done that, guys, I'm going to move on. So moving forward, it's okay if you didn't change it to dirt or something, that's fine. As long as you got the cube there, I'm happy. Let's go to the front of Unreal again. And what I want you to do is let's fill in our world with some of these blocks. But before we fill it in, remember Minecraft, all the blocks are perfectly next to each other. That is to say that they snap to a grid. And I told you that we have grid snapping in Unreal. We haven't really used it. But in that upper right, we're going to change that grid snap. It's probably 10 right now by default. Change it to 100. Change it to 100. And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and start dragging this block from your content browser into your world. And what's really great is as you do that, they'll all snap perfectly together. They won't be overlapping and there will be no gaps, which is exactly how Minecraft is anyway. So that's why we change that grid. So I want you to drag some of these blocks into your world. This is ultra creative mode. So I'm dragging some blocks out. You can see kind of how many I'm doing. I just want to fill it in so that we can change them later, do testing and all that sort of thing. My last class, I had them really duplicate like several levels, like 3 levels, so we could maybe mine in at some point. We won't do that for now. I just want a good number of blocks in your world, and then I'll be happy. Okay. So once you've got several blocks in your world, that's good. We'll be able to work with that. Now, moving on. And by the way, everybody, you should be in the front of Unreal right now. You should be in the front of Unreal. So in the front of Unreal, I want to add something else new to the content browser. I haven't shown you this yet. It's something called an enumeration. And for short, it's called an enum. What the heck is that? An enum is simply a list. And what I want to do is I want to make a list for the different block types that we have. So I'll make, dirt, grass, cobblestone, wood, water, that sort of thing. Right? So to do that, click the green Add New button in the content browser. And then go to Blueprints, and then choose Enumeration. So over there, so I'm going to repeat that instruction one more time and then we're going to move on. You click the green Add New button, then you choose Blueprints, and you choose a thing called Enumeration. And I'm going to name my enumeration, I'm going to name it Block Type, no spaces. And once you've done that, double click it. And you'll get a rather blank looking window that shows up. And it's blank looking because it's really simple. All we're making is a list. It's just a list. That's all this is. So there's a new button on the right side. Click the new button, and you can click that a couple times. And if you do too much, you could click the X, and that'll delete these. And that's just for each item of our list, right? I'm gonna do like four items for now. We can always add to this later. And the first one, I'm going to name it, where it says display name, dirt. Name it dirt. The second one, I'm going to name grass. Third one, I'm going to name stone. The last one, I'm going to name, let's say, water. So we'll have a water block. And we can come back later and add more things like different types of like wood and all that sort of thing. But this is good for now. We'll just do 4. Dirt, grass, stone, water, and then hit save. And that's it. And you can click out of that, exit out. We might edit it later, but for now, that's all you got to do. And once you've made your list, you're going to go back to your blueprint, back to your block blueprint tab. So now that you've made your list, go ahead and go back to your blueprint block. Go back to your block blueprint. All right. In the lower left, it says variables. We're going to add a variable that has this list in it. So click the plus variable icon, lower left. Variable is a little plus icon. Click that. That creates a new variable. Name it type. And then in the details panel on the right, where it says variable type, change it from Boolean. So click on the thing that says Boolean, the drop down, and then type in the name of the list we made. So that was called block type. Type in block type, and you'll see under a section called enum, block type comes up. So you select that. And then hit compile in the left so that we can see that default value in the details panel. Okay, once you've done that and you've hit compile on the left here, in type you'll notice there's a drop down and it actually has everything in our list. And I can set this to grass or stone or water or whatever. Okay, I'll leave it by as dirt by default. So there's one more thing I want you to do with this variable. In the lower left where it says type, you can see the name of our variable. There's a little thing that looks like a U. It's what it actually is. It's a closed eyeball. Okay, it's a very strange icon. If you click on it, it'll turn into an open eye, just there in the lower left. Go ahead and do that. And what that's doing is making it public, which is to say that whenever we see this block in our world, we can then edit this variable in the details panel for that block. Okay. Okay, it's called exposing a variable, so you can actually change it. So you click the eyeball, and then you can change it later. So once you've done that, guys, moving on. Moving on. We're going to go to another part that I've never shown you before, which is this third tab we've been ignoring so far in our lessons called construction script. Right? We've done viewport, we've done event graph. Now we're going to go to construction script. Construction script is the same exact idea as the event graph, except everything that happens to construction script happens in the editor. It happens before the game ever even plays. Whereas the event graph only happens once the game is being played, right? So in the construction script is where we're going to put our code for our block. You'll see why we do this in a second. So everybody is on the construction script of the block, and what I want you to do is I want you to drag that variable called type, drag it onto your graph, and do get type. So you want to be on the event graph, or I'm sorry, the construction script. You're dragging type onto your graph. And then I want you to drag off of type. You're dragging a wire off of type and type in the word switch. And you'll see something that says switch on block type, and choose that. And then connect the front of construction script. Just connect that to our new switch node. So you dragged off a type, you typed in switch, you get switch on block type. What this is you can kind of see it. It's a very useful way of changing what code you execute depending on which item in the list is selected. So the first one is our dirt channel. So you do the code for whether the block is dirt when the type is dirt instead of grass, stone, or water, just going off of that. So your graph should look like mine. And the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to start with the dirt channel. And what we want to do is change this block to look like dirt when the type is set to dirt. So to do that, it's really simple. We're just going to get our static mesh and then change its material. So first thing, let's get our static mesh. In the components over here on the left, drag static mesh onto your graph. And then once you've done that, drag off a static mesh and just type in set material. And then connect dirt into the front of that set material node. So set material is really simple. It has this thing called target. Well, that's connected to your static mesh. Element index, don't even worry about that. The bottom part, though, says material. It should say select asset with a drop-down. Click the drop-down and type in rust, because that's what we're going to use when it's supposed to look like dirt. And make sure it's set to rust. So what this code is saying is, hey, when our type variable is set to dirt, change the static mesh's material to the rust material. So it looks like dirt. The rust looks like dirt. That's why we do that. Okay. So the rest of the code is actually rather simple. We're just going to copy and paste what we just did for all the other things and then just change that one little part that says, well, which material do you want to change it to so that it looks, it's the right. So for grass, we're going to do the exact same thing, but instead of changing it to rust, we're going to change it to grass. So I'm going to highlight these to copy and paste them. To do that, I just left click and drag a box. And I just want to highlight those two, static mesh and set material. I just highlight those two. And then I do Command C, Command V, and it copies and pastes the blueprint code. And then drag grass into the front of that. And for the material, just type in grass and set it to the grass material. And then do the same for stone. Command C, Command V. And you can see I'm kind of stacking my nodes this way. I'm going to pick, for stone, it doesn't really matter, there's several. I'm going to pick the one that's called brick cut stone because it looks good. Whichever stone you like. And then for the final one, copy paste. For water, I'm going to change it just to the type in water. I'm going to use the lake water. Okay. Now if you all did that right, go to the front of Unreal and click on one of your blocks. And in the details panel of that block, you now have a new setting that should be called type, and it actually says dirt, and you can change it to grass and stone and water. And if you change it, the material will change on your block. So I just clicked on this block, I changed the type to stone, and it turned to stone. So now go in here and customize these blocks. And that's why we use a construction script. The construction script lets us change things immediately right there in the editor. If for some reason you aren't seeing your type in the settings, The reason is because your variable, you did not click the eyeball icon. The eyeball on this variable in your blueprint has to be open, and then you can see it. So let's do one more thing on this blueprint. That we're going to add this so we can use it later. But if you think about in Minecraft, blocks, before they're destroyed, they take a certain amount of hits. And that hit amount changes, right? So stone takes a lot more hits than wood. And wood takes more hits than dirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called block health. And that'll store the health of our block. And basically when that health goes to 0, the block will be destroyed. So we're going to change that to a weak number when we're on dirt, but when it's like stone, we may have to be a really high number. So go to your blueprint block now. So you're on your blueprint block. In variables in the lower left, click plus variable. Type in block health and change the variable type to an integer, right? That's just a number. And then drag your block health variable that's now an integer called block health, drag it onto your graph and do a set and then you're just going to do a set block health for each of these different block types. So for dirt, for example, I'm going to change the number to 3. For grass, I'm going to also leave it at 3. I figure grass and dirt should take the same number of hits. For stone, I'm going to change the number to 12. So we would have to take 12 hits for it to actually break. And then for water, because water is really interesting, you don't want the player to actually be able to mine water. So I'm just going to change it to 1,000 because there's no chance the player is ever going to sit there mining water 1,000 times. Cool. All right, so that's that. If you go back to the front of Unreal, what I want you to do is just decorate your world a little bit. If you're caught up, what I want you to do is go into your world and, add some blocks on top of each other, maybe make like a floor of blocks so that when we get to this next time, we'll be able to actually mine through them and have something interesting. So fill in your world a little bit with these blocks, and now I'll come around to answer questions, and I'm going to end the live stream. That's it for today's lesson.